Joining us now is Senator Tim Kaine, Democrat of Virginia. Senator Kaine, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I know that you have not been happy about certain elements of this bill. Are you going to support it in the end when it comes to the Senate?
Alex, I have an amendment filed to block a provision in the bill completely unrelated to the debt ceiling that would greenlight a very controversial pipeline in Virginia that no one talked to us about, no one conferred with Virginians about, and they just dropped it into the bill. Look, we do amendments all the time in the Senate. I've had bills where we've done multiple amendments a day. I'm insisting on an amendment to strip out approving the Mountain Valley Pipeline. This is a pipeline that should have to go through normal permitting processes, but sadly, the deal that was struck gives this a green light, exempts it from all the normal permitting processes. And to build a pipeline, you got to take people's land. This runs through Appalachian, Virginia, some of my poorest, hardest hit residents. They don't want to have their land taken, and they definitely don't want Congress putting our thumb on the scale to take away the power of agencies and courts to review whether it's a good idea or not. So I've got an amendment to say, let's strip out this provision. I want to vote on it. And it's not going to delay us. We can do an amendment vote immediately. And I guarantee if this amendment were to pass and it were to go back to the House, nobody in the House is voting for or against this bill because of the green light of the Mountain Valley Pipeline. It's not fatal to the bill. It's not going to delay. And they put it in the bill and it deals with Virginia. And they didn't even ask me about it. So I'm fighting for Virginians who are going to lose their land. And I want to vote in my amendment.
Are you at all concerned, though, that the timing of that might push this past June 5th? That does seem to be the drop dead date for the U.S. avoiding catastrophic economic consequences.
Alex, absolutely not. I think the House is going to pass this bill and give it to us tonight. I have been involved in bills where I've been the sponsor, where we've done 7 or 8 amendment votes in a day. There's going to be some Republican amendment votes in the Senate, I believe. And if we will allow Republicans to offer amendments, I want an amendment on my provision to strip the Mountain Valley Pipeline. And I'll live with the result. You know, if I can convince my colleagues, great. If I can't convince my colleagues, that's on me. But I don't think anybody should cut a deal that affects Virginians, particularly in the hardest hit part of our state, on a really important and controversial project without reaching out to us. And I also think giving a green light to one project in the United States and saying it doesn't have to go through normal permitting rules, that just opens the door to really big problems in the future. Any big corporation that is unhappy with the pace of their approvals in a regulatory environment, that's unhappy with what courts are doing, can just go to Congress and say, hey, let us bypass you. Everyday people don't get that deal. Everyday people don't get to bypass the courts and have Congress, take a magic wand and give them what they want. We shouldn't do it for a wealthy company either.
I just want to, for those who are following along at home here, there are 217 votes, 218. So this is, I believe, has now passed the House. That is a big deal for people who have been watching the short but tortured history of these debt ceiling negotiations. Senator Kaine, I got to ask you, and I want to talk in a little bit more detail about the Mountain Valley Pipeline and why the White House did not bring you into those negotiations. But if your amendment fails, are you prepared to vote yes on this, which is now assuredly coming to the Senate in the next day or two?
My only goal right now, Alex, is I want to get a vote on my amendment.
Okay.
They cut a deal affecting Virginia without even talking to us, and it hits the hardest hit, toughest, poorest, most challenged part of my state. It affects people and it takes their land. I mean, to build a pipeline, you got to take people's land. In this part of Virginia, Appalachia, people don't have a lot. Sometimes land is what they've got, all that they've got, and they've had it for generations, and they don't want to give it up to a massive corporation that's worth billions that wants to make billions more by taking their land. If there were a decision by regulatory agencies that we needed that, that's one thing. But this thing has been star-crossed from the start because the company's made a lot of mistakes, because the previous administration, the Trump administration, was handing out environmental permits like they were visitors passes to the Senate gallery rather than making the companies really do the work that they should do. And I'm not going to abandon the Virginians who have fought to protect their land and just say, fine, the administration cuts a deal without me. I guess I got to whistle and go along. Anybody who thinks that I will do that, they have not been paying attention to the fact that I have been a public servant at the local, state, and federal level for 28 years. Going along with whatever somebody tells me to do is not what I do.
Yeah, I got to ask. Okay, so the reporting that we have out of the Washington Post is that the reason the Mountain Valley Pipeline and the expedited processing of it is in this debt ceiling negotiation, in this bill, is because the White House effectively agreed to put the Mountain Valley Pipeline in a separate bill after they secured Joe Manchin's vote for the Inflation Reduction Act. That was a huge part of this administration's legacy. That was a signal piece of the president's that is the president's legislative record in many ways, other than the Infrastructure Act. Do you see any sense in the deal making that had to happen behind closed doors with Joe Manchin in order to secure his vote on a huge piece of legislation with profound effects on the American economy, a lot of things that Democrats support? Do you understand the negotiation that had to happen there? Or, I guess, what is your reaction to that reporting?
Alex, I think that reporting is true. I understand it. But to put it in the debt ceiling, to put it in the bill where we're on the precipice of America defaulting on its credit for the first time in the history, that's not what the White House agreed to. They agreed to, Joe, if you vote on the IRA, we'll try to make this happen. We'll put it in many bills. But they never should have put it in a debt ceiling bill. They never should have put it in a bill where America's at the precipice of default. They could have put it in a permitting reform bill. They could have put it in an energy appropriations bill at the end of the year. But putting it in a debt ceiling, this is a manufactured issue. There is bipartisan interest right now in permitting reform. I'm a supporter of permitting reform. I support the permitting reform portions of this bill other than the Mountain Valley Pipeline. We could have gotten this done according to Hoyle in regular order, but for some reason they decided to drop Mountain Valley Pipeline in the midst of a completely unrelated bill. We've got to save America's full faith and credit, and we'll drop Mountain Valley Pipeline in that. Who are these owners of this company that think they're that important? I mean, that they're so important that they get to write the terms of their own deal, eliminating all administrative and judicial review, and make it to be on the par of the debt ceiling deal? I mean, give me a break. Give me a break.
Senator, we hope to hear much more from you on this. The ball is now in your court because this bill has passed the House. It's making its way over to the Senate. Senator Tim Kaine.
I'm glad it's in my court.
It is most certainly in your court in more ways than one. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's really good to hear your thoughts on this. Every vote is critical, as we know, in the Senate, and you seem to have some deep reservations about what is in this. We really appreciate your time.